Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. And obviously, you've had an opportunity to hear about the announcement relative to Maryland. And I just want to take this opportunity to extend to Maryland and its constituency, its fans, and all the people who work at the University of Maryland a warm welcome on behalf of the Ohio State University and Buckeye Nation. We look forward to having you as a member of our family and embracing your rich tradition and history and everything that you mean to higher education and intercollegiate athletics. It's a great move for our conference. I think when you think about where the landscape is today and what has happened in intercollegiate athletics, there was going to be, and I think as we move towards the future and years out, there will continue to be some change. And Maryland's a great addition to our conference. So we're looking forward to getting down to the details and trying to deal with the scheduling issues and the transition issues, but welcome University of Maryland.
Gene, what does this do? Why is this good, I guess, for the Big Ten? The president from Maryland says it's good. We're going to be able to have sports, the money issue. I mean, why is this good for the Big Ten?
I think you can't skirt the fact that financially it assists us as we move forward towards our television agreement that expires in 2017. There's no doubt about that. Secondly, we pick up the East Coast. You know, there's about a little less than 6 million people in the Maryland population, and as an institution, it's a great academic institution. A lot of great graduates have accomplished so much in our great history. So we pick up a great partner. And so for the Big Ten, we knew that at some point in time we might have to expand, and Maryland was available, so it worked out well.
So it's a windfall for both parties?
Yeah, I think so. You know, for Maryland, I think as you heard their president talk about what it does for the stability of their athletic program and the student athletes they serve is great for them. But for us, I think it's good as well. We pick up new markets. Mr. Delaney talked about possibly having an office on the East Coast. So there's some opportunities there that we need to explore, and we shouldn't skirt the fact that some of it's financial. And so we're certainly, I think, will gain in some form or fashion.
Is there a projection on that?
No, we haven't gone there, and I couldn't go there.
Oh, yeah. Gene, I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but is there talk of moving Illinois into the Legends division and possibly these next two schools, which one hadn't been named yet, but moving into the leaders? Is that what you understand will happen?
No, the athletic directors haven't even talked about that at all. So that speculation is, I'm sure, going to emerge over the next couple of weeks from our broad-based constituency, but we haven't even talked about that whatsoever. And I imagine probably in the next couple months, or maybe after we get through the bowl season, we'll have a chance to sit down and talk about those details.
This is effective in 14?
Yeah, so we have some time. We have some time.
What does the Big Ten network now pay each school?
I can't remember that, Clay. I'm sorry, I can't remember. I was going to say 28, but I'm not sure that's right. I'm not sure that's right. I'll have B1G get you that number.
In the ballpark?
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Gene, we expect Rutgers to be announced tomorrow. Is it end at 14, or where do you think this goes?
Well, today's about Maryland, so I'm very happy that we have Maryland in the league today.
How further?
Are you studying? Are you stuttering, Dom? Or we're talking about Maryland today, and we're really excited that they're in the league today.
Can we be here tomorrow at 4:45?
If you want to, I mean, there's a little shop down there. You can spend some money, buy some food.
With 14, would that be a good number going forward, or do you ultimately see the Big Ten at 16?
I like where we are right now, and I can see how it could work.
Gene, why is this good for Ohio State?
You know, for Ohio State, we're part of the consortium. You know, and sometimes, Doug, you just can't look at yourself just locally and be selfish that way. We're part of a bigger family, and that's the Big Ten Conference. So what is good for the Big Ten? You know, the greatest thing about our athletic directors is when we get in the room and we start talking about the leaders versus legends and who should be where, is we're very collegial. We really spend the time looking at the big picture. So when we talked about Maryland, we looked at the big picture. We didn't isolate ourselves to our own locale. What's good for this conference? How can we move this conference forward? I think for Ohio State, it strengthens the conference and strengthens the whole, and it makes us better. It rises all ships. So I'm excited about it. The opportunity for our fans to go into Maryland Stadium and go to the East Coast, the opportunity for our fans who are part of that geography, that demographic there. When we come there, they'll be excited, and football and basketball and all the other sports that come into that community. So there's a lot of residual type of experiences that I think people will be happy about. But I try not to just look at it just from the point of view what's good for us locally. I think as a whole it's good for our conference, which is ultimately good for us.
Do you lose something or lose part of who you are as the Big Ten when you add schools who maybe don't seem on the surface as much of a fit as what the Big Ten is right now, and you're going to play each other? The current 12 will play each other less in football, will play each other less in basketball, just because you're adding the other schools. You're going to be losing some of those games on the field and on the court. Is that a loss in some way? Are you sure you're willing to trade that for money or TV markets or whatever that you're?
You know, people say the same thing about the Big Ten Network. I mean, at some point in time, you know, in life sometimes in order to gain some things, you have to do some things you've never done before. And I think if you want to look down the road at where we need to be in the collegiate landscape of things, you have to do some things differently. Don't shirk your traditions. Never give those up. Trying to protect them as best you can, going to your point. But the reality is you have to do some things different if you want to be progressive. And intercollegiate athletics is going to be progressive. I mean, we've seen it. All of us could sit here and create a list of all the different things that have occurred in almost every single sport over time. So we're no different. We needed to do something in order to look long term. And that's what this move is all about. It's not just about 2014. It's about the long-term view of where we need to be. So we'll do our best to protect our traditions, going to your point. But the reality is we're going to have to do some things differently.
Patrick. To change gears from expansion, it seems like every week cries from fans are getting louder and louder about national championship and missing on the bowl. Just wonder if you have any regrets or second thoughts about the way everything was handled a year ago, as I'm sure you're hearing about from fans every week now with wins 11 and all that.
Well, I'm here to talk about Maryland. But since you asked that question, no, the decisions that we made relative to our NCAA case, we made to the best of our abilities with the information in front of us. I am not into speculative positioning in life. I'm just not one of those guys relative to that type of what-if scenarios, because I could sit here and give you a million other what-ifs had we taken that, but I'm not going there. I'm worried about making sure that we position our football staff, our student athletes, everything we can to have the opportunity to beat that team up north. That's my mission right now. So I apologize that if that sounds insensitive, but that is the reality of what we have to do today. What's in front of us, not what's behind us.
Jim, would you have under the impression, though, in the final analysis, when everything came out, that y'all would still face the postseason ban this year regardless? The way things
I'll let you take that speculation. You guys go run with it, have fun.
Third time, Susan Lane said that the university president, or the Big Ten presidents rather, were giddy on the conference call today to approve
Oh, they were?
Maryland's.
That'd been cool to hear.
Was President Gee giddy in your conversation with him today?
Yeah.
What's the communication between you and he like about the position you're in?
Yeah, we've talked off and on over the last couple of weeks, and actually last night and again this morning. And yes, he was excited. He's giddy. Now he has a relationship with Maryland. He knows the president there, and he knows the chancellor there extremely well. And I have a lot of relationships there as well. So he was excited. He's giddy because he can see the future and what it means to us. And they're a Tier 1 research institution, you know, an AAU member. So there's a lot of relationships there. So he's excited about it. It's going to be fun.
If you guys go, if the Big Ten goes to 14 and all of this stuff, what is Ohio State's preference at this point in terms of division?
I haven't determined that preference. I'll pull in some of my coaches and talk to them about how we'll be structured. We'll talk about basketball and some of the other sports. And I never make those decisions in a vacuum. I'm trying to be inclusive in my decision-making process. So I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk with my coaches yet.
Would you favor going to 9 games in football and/or expanding basketball?
It's a good thought, Doug. You know, we have to really think about that hard, because this is different now. So you really have to think about, do you play more games in football? Do you play more games in basketball? Do you go in divisions in basketball? Like the old Big 12 model, which I think the old Big 12 model in basketball, they played everybody twice in the division and once in the other division, I believe. So we'll have to look at all those models. You're exactly right.
Y'all were going that way at one point and it backed off.
That's right, Tim. So I imagine we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that.
What will Ohio State do with the money? Obviously, you said there's a financial
Right.
aspect of that. You're a healthy athletic department.
Right.
Why do you need more money?
Well, you know what? That's the challenge that we face, is trying to communicate to people that the revenues we generate do not just come back to athletics. A lot of that money goes back to the institutions, besides the $16 million that we fund in scholarship money. So we're not like most schools. We have a large number of out-of-state scholarships. We pay for those. We don't get a break. You know, our 616 kids who are on scholarship, 400 and I forgot the number, are full riders. So we don't get a break on out-of-state. We pay the full fee. So $16 million in grant and aid. Then we have another 15 to 16 million that the university uses in different ways. You know, we have a thing called cost containment. So we spend about $1.5 million in cost containment, and the university invests that wherever. We have a surcharge on our revenue. So anytime our revenue goes up, the institution gets a percentage of that, and they allocate it somewhere on campus. We spend $1.5 million a year on the library. So we're unique in that regard. So when the revenue comes in, I just don't sit at my desk and say, I'm going to put it over here, put it over here, put it over here. It's a collaborative effort with our CFO, in this case, Jeff Chattis, and we sit down and talk about the different districts. Our university is on an unbelievable trajectory, and as a revenue source for them, we want to contribute to that. You know, I want to find ways to help provide scholarship assistance, not just to athletes, but all students here. So when we get into those conversations and we look at new monies, we just don't pump it all back into athletics. In fact, the $9 million that went to the library came from the Big Ten Network funding when we received those dollars. So we're a little different that way, unlike some of our other schools.
You have to look, you know, I know you think about the future a little bit, even though you can't really talk about it hypothetically, but you see down the line, maybe possibly 14 or 16 league school conferences down the road here.
Very possible, Tim.
With all the national championship thing. You know,
Very possible.
et cetera.
Mega conferences, the mega conference, very possible, very possible.
It looks that way.
You know, I can't project what other conferences are thinking, but as I think through the geography of what's going on and trying to set yourself up for legitimate opportunity to win championships, and you look at the revenue opportunities, I think you'll see more expansion down the road by other conferences and getting to larger conferences. I can see that down the road. It helps you not only in revenue, it helps you in votes when you're dealing with issues.
You mentioned wanting to know what's best for the Big Ten, not solely what's best for Ohio State. Did you maybe have to come around on this a little bit? Did you raise your eyebrows a little bit at first? You kind of thinking about, you know, maybe selling the soul of the league, going to the East Coast, but then kind of looking at the information. I don't know, your opinion about
Yeah, oh, no question. Yeah, each athletic director in their own way, in their own moment, you go through that thought process, and we all do. And so, you know, Maryland was on our board when we started expansion and conversations in 2009. Is that when it was? That December of 2009. So they weren't new. And there were other teams on that board that you sit and you ponder about relative to the Ohio State University and the conference. So you have those moments when you reflect, okay, what does it mean to travel? You know, what does it mean for us? You know, they have lacrosse. You know, what does it mean for their lacrosse program? What does it mean for ours? You know, you have a lot of things that you go through in your mind that some that, you know, locally, going to that local thought, you cause pause, but you get over it real soon when you think about the whole.
What was the danger of not expanding?
You know, I think one thing we didn't talk here about today was we have a member in Penn State University that, in some of our views, needed to have geographically some colleagues. And I think, Maryland offers that. They offer a neighbor. I think the other part is we needed to expand our geographical footprint. Over the years, there's been a migration relative to talent, and this puts us a little bit into the East Coast from a recruiting point of view. Even though we were there already, this strengthens it a little bit. So I feel good that we're going to get into a demographic that will enhance all of us a little bit more. So there was no real significant danger in staying still, but we were giving up opportunities. Now, and again, let's not forget about the financial opportunity that this presents as well. And that is, of course, a big part of it.
You talked about the changing landscape we all see. Obviously, a lot has happened. A lot of conferences have expanded or added members sort of out of desperation at times.
Right,
Stay alive
right.
Because other things happen. Other conferences are strong enough, the Big Ten, the SEC, to expand because they want to.
Mm-hmm.
The landscape is changing, but don't you feel like the Big Ten is a leader in the landscape that there may be forces that are pushing expansion in some ways? But if you guys said no, if you just stayed, you probably would influence the whole landscape as well. Do you think that you could have, if the Big Ten just stayed at 12 for a while, would that not have had influence?
Stabilize things a little bit.
Stabilize the whole crazy expansion?
I wish that was the truth, but I just don't see that, Doug. I really don't. I think that other conferences have their, as a consortium, they have their interests that they have to drive. And it was going to happen. It's going to happen again in other conferences. And so, no, I don't think so. We started this, unfortunately or fortunately. We were the ones that sent out the first letter in December. I thought it was 2009. But no, I don't think we could have sat still for that goal of trying to create stability. We added Nebraska, which was one team. I mean, that didn't cause people just to add one team. They added multiple teams. We have Temple going to San Diego. I mean, so our move of adding one team didn't do anything to say, let's be cautious here. Let's make sure you look at fit. And Texas A&M going to the SEC, and that didn't have any, our move didn't have any impact on that at all. So they're going to look, those consortiums are going to look at what's in their own best interests relative to positioning themselves to be the best that they could be, regardless of the Big Ten or regardless of the Big 12, who's sitting at 10. And my thought is that probably won't last a whole lot of years at 10.
Only 3 major leagues, though, have not lost school games for the Big Ten, SEC. In fact, is that interesting to you? I mean, like you said, y'all had a list of schools y'all were looking at. Who are the others on that list?
Yeah, he's killing me, isn't he? I like his style. Always. We are, going back to Doug's point, I mean, we are in my view, the premier league in this country from a lot of different ways. You look at it academically, financially, tradition, geography-wise, from a contiguous point of view. We've maintained that to a great degree. Going east a little bit further, we've stepped out of that geographic mindset, but to me it aligns with Penn State, who needed a partner. So, I think when you look at our conference, it's very difficult to benchmark it against what other people are doing it, because they have different rationale and they're in different situations. We got unbelievable history and tradition in our core that we'll be able to retain and influence all the other members that join us over time.
You describe this moment that every AD has where they do their own personal cost-benefit analysis.
Right.
For you, what was your biggest concern about this?
With Maryland?
Yeah.
None. I really didn't have any with Maryland, because it's not a distance issue for us. It's no travel issue for us. I've looked at teams on our board, it's like, oh my God, how are we going to get there? But this one I didn't have a pause with Maryland. I really didn't. I know it's at the athletic director there, Kevin Anderson's a great personal friend. Brenda Fries, who was a women's basketball coach, worked for me at Iowa State University. I mean, I know Randy Edsel, what an outstanding person he is. I watched Mark Turgeon coach basketball teams over the years. I don't have any concerns with them. I really don't. Rick Kerwin is one of the premier leaders in higher education as the chancellor there, so I can just keep going. I don't have any concerns with them. I frankly think it's going to be really cool to go into that market. I really do. If I was a fan, I'd go to D.C. first, and then I'd go over to the game. So I'd go to Georgetown and have a Diet Coke and chill in Georgetown for a while. So I just see so many different positives off of this. So.
Is there any concern, not from the high school, the Big Ten, but college sports in general? Is there any concern that if it doesn't stabilize at some point, there's going to be diminishing returns in terms of people's interest?
Good question.
In terms of people who do appreciate it.
Good questions. Good question.
Seeing things that they're used to seeing.
That's right.
All the things that the Big Ten has stood right for. At some point, are we going to reach a tipping point where if it doesn't settle down?
Very good question.
You're going to squander everything that it's been working.
That's right. Well, that's why we didn't rush. I mean, we took our time and got Nebraska, and we think that this move, after watching other moves and evaluating the landscape, positions us to kind of retain a lot. We're going to influence a lot of what Maryland will become as a Big Ten member because of our core and who we are. So you're right. At some point in time, I don't know where it is. I'm not that good, but I think you're right on something there that it could be at some point. Enough's enough. I just don't know when that is.
Okay, a couple more.
Yeah.
Play off of what Todd said. I feel like the Big Ten, it seems like of all the conferences in the country, is a conference that holds true to tradition.
Mhm.
You added Nebraska, a team that has such a rich history in football. Do you feel like there might be some backlash to adding a program that doesn't necessarily have that same tradition in football?
I really didn't, because, you look at their basketball program, great, rich tradition and history is going to enhance us, and I know football drives it all. I'm not disregarding that. But when you can enhance one of our other premier sports, men's basketball, I think that's a good opportunity for us. So they have great tradition and history there. They're making investments in football. I think they're in a market with the Big Ten assistance, and what we'll do will help them rise. But no, I didn't concern myself with that, and a lot of that is because it's such a great academic institution, great culture, great values, just outstanding institution.
Was the things you've been doing with your non-conference football
Yeah.
season down the line,
Yeah.
was knowing this was possibly coming, did that influence that?
No, I was moving not knowing if this was going to happen. So now I have to pause. I mean, I have to put some things on hold that I have in the hopper that I have to call those ADs and say, hey, wait a minute, you need to give me a few months to figure out what we're going to do. So I was moving it because I can't assume that this is going to happen and then miss opportunities. So I was moving as though it wasn't going to happen. Now keep in mind, this surfaced over the last 3 months, when it actually really came to fruition and got really live over the last, 2 to 3 to 4 weeks. So, I couldn't, this could have fell apart this morning. I wasn't going to give up opportunities.
Will you be an admin conference schedule?
I don't know. I have to sit down with Urban, and we had a position where we were based upon the reality that we're dealing with at that particular time, but this reality's changed. So Urban and I will sit down, and I'll sit down with some others, and we'll talk through the pros and cons of that.
Obviously, the 5-4 thing would be one of the sticking points, right?
Yeah, as it was before. So we have to sit down and look at that, see how the divisions turn out, make sure we can protect our traditions that are important to us. We have a new rivalry emerged. Wisconsin. Well, I guess you guys tell me 10 years ago, would all of us sit here and see Wisconsin being what it is today as a rivalry to us? I mean, you guys know better than I do. I'm not so sure. Did you guys see that 10 years ago, 15 years ago? So, so that's a new tradition that's emerging. And when these platforms do that. And so, Urban and I will sit down, after we do the thing we need to do this weekend, and we'll spend some time talking about that. And we probably as ADs won't meet until January, so we have time to vet that and get other people's opinions.
One more?
I'm sure you guys are right about it, and I'll get opinions from you guys too. So
You can change the name.
I'm not touching that one, Doug. You know I'm not touching that one.
Yeah. Has the success of adding Nebraska, or does that make you more comfortable doing it, making a move like
Yeah.
this? Is it just, you know, you can do it now that you've done it?
Yeah, yeah. It's it makes it so much easier, and you know, Delaney and was talking with us as ADs about the things that he wished he had a help facilitated for Penn State, that we ultimately facilitated for Nebraska. And now as I think about Maryland and what we need to do for them as we move forward, I mean, the template is there. And we have more timing. We have a lot more time. So, all right, guys, thank you so much.